What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got a review for you of the Mercedes-Benz S580 2021, the redesigned model of their top-end S-Class sedan, and it's something that I'm really excited about because on the channel we review cars very occasionally, I would say, and it really does come down to the technological features, and if I feel like there's something that is exciting to show you, that is kind of how I decide whether or not it makes sense to review the car on the channel. So this right here is one that I've seen a lot of clips of over on TikTok, and it definitely has a ton of crazy interior features, and even though it did see a redesign on the outside that looks like relatively streamlined and has been cleaned up a little bit. So someone who picked up the CLA 45 AMG as like a daily driver about 6 months ago, you guys have seen the videos on my channel talking about like just how much I enjoy the interior features that Mercedes has implemented and some of the changes that they made in the past few years that really separate it from what I feel like the rest of the market around the same class. And the S580 is essentially like the top end of that, with all of the features and every single thing that they could have thrown at it, from the comfort options, the multimedia, the backseat experience, and also in like the AI technology of the navigation system, the audio, the seats. There's just so much to talk about, and in this video we're going to highlight all that, as well as a driving experience which is equally as impressive as how good the interior is. So if you guys want to see more car reviews on the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, drop a like on this video, and also leave a comment down below as to your favorite feature from the huge list of features on the S580. And let's just go ahead and give you like a bit of a walkthrough of the exterior features and how it looks. And if you guys want to learn more about the car, I have a column over at vinauto.com with all the photos that we took from this trip, and it's also a great place for you to look up your next car and see what is available at nearby dealerships, whether it's an S580 or any other vehicle that you're currently considering. I also want to give a huge thanks to the Fairmont Pacific Rim for letting us use the front of their hotel as a great set for a fitting car that just looks so classy. But let's just go ahead and give you guys a quick walkthrough tour before hopping inside and getting on the road. So now I'm gonna give you guys like a walk around look of the S580, and I've gotta say, it just looks so sharp. Right here we have it in the onyx color, which is kind of like a black from a distance, but as you get close to it, it does have like a bit of a sparkle to it under the light, and I would say it's a bit more brown than it is black when you get right up close. And on the front, they have like kind of a more streamlined and smoothed off look, but it still has like that classic Mercedes S-Class design that I'm sure a lot of people love. You have like the little icon right there, but you'll also see all the sensors and technology that is packed in can also kind of been integrated into the design. There's also the camera right here, there's the camera up there, there's literally cameras everywhere in this car that assist with the parking, the maps design, and the holographic look in the HUD, and also in the aspects of some of its smart features of when it's parked. If somebody crashes into you, it will actually take some photos, and it also has like a built-in dash cam, so it is like a very smart car. And I feel like the S-Class being attributed to like luxury, a lot of times you might not expect it to be a car that has so much technology under the hood, but I've just seen so many reviews of this and I've been really excited to check it out in person, and it just really does have that presence. But at the same time, I will say the design is relatively low-key in a way. It is like a very long car. The side is relatively simple. Your handles do kind of recess and they pop out when you need them to open, and other than that, the car itself, in terms of its length, as you would expect, with the amount of interior space, is quite long. One of the options that you can also get is for the rear wheel to rotate at about 10 degrees, and that will decrease your turning radius by about 7 feet. So that is like an additional one, so it makes it easier to park, for example, or make like a U-turn. So I feel like for a car of this size, that is a really handy feature to have. But otherwise, yeah, as we go over to the back here, the wheel set that has been selected on the model that we're reviewing right here is 21 inches. I think it looks really awesome. And as you go over to the back, there's actually quite a bit of cargo as well. So you could probably fit like a full luggage and stuff, as well as your golf set, all in here. So for a sedan, it's got plenty of space, and you can go ahead and press the button, it will automatically shut. So those are just like some of the features as we like tour around the exterior. I think the car itself just looks so good. I've seen it in silver, in black, and the interior combinations of brown and red. It really comes down to what you like, but the one that we have right here, I think it's just like a very classy combination in the onyx color and the gray interior. But let's go ahead and show you guys the interior, because that is what I'm extremely excited to talk about. So now we're in the interior of the S580, and I've got to say this is my favorite part by far. As soon as I saw videos about this car, I wanted to check it out, and as soon as I actually hopped in person, I've got to say I'm just so impressed by every little detail of technology, the comfort, the seats, the quilted stitch, and just everything that comes together. I think the best way to describe it is that it feels like I'm sitting in the living room while driving the car, because this is honestly more comfortable than the couch that I have at home, and that could mean two things. Mercedes did an incredible job, or I need a new couch. But from all the customization that you have, there's just a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna try not to jump around everywhere. But the first thing is this large screen that you just can't miss here. And I feel like the biggest thing you're gonna notice is that the car just has a very nice flow. Everything just kind of rolls down from top to bottom. You've got this 13-inch OLED display in the middle here that is like the centerpiece. Everything is in a touchscreen, and you do have your separation of the climate controls on the bottom that kind of stay there, and your home access menu. But the rest of it is there to give you all of your entertainment stuff, your Apple CarPlay you could put on there, as well as a navigation system, which is really good and really utilizes the camera and the latest technologies, as well as the HUD. But beyond that, stuff like the seat change is also incredible. I can just like set all of the massage modes. I could also set like the lumbar support to a very customized curve. And at the same time, I can also just enter the height, and it will give me like an optimal setting based on what it knows. And I think these are just like all great settings where you could either have it make the decision for you, or just leave it up to the computer and what it knows, and it's going to get it done. It just looks good and feels good, as you would expect. And there's also the ambient lighting, of course, which is a great feature of Mercedes that I have in my CLA 45. And there you can set all the different colors, the multicolor settings, the sequences, and the light just kind of like surrounds and accents around, and it's most visible at night, of course. And I would just say, like, a lot of times I'm someone who may not like to have everything as like a touch screen or a touch intuitive, but I feel like the execution here has been very well done. There's like a small bar of buttons here that you can press, but at the same time, you can also just slide to control your volume, which is really nice. And there's also like the change into the cameras. All the stuff on the steering wheel is also touch capacitive with the ability to press as well, but there just isn't like much like clicking. There's not many seams, and I think that is like the design mission that Mercedes has stuck to right here in conjunction with their MBUX system. But I feel like that just all comes together very nicely with the MBUX software to give you the ultimate experience of what Mercedes is able to offer today. So from the driver's seat, even though this is a car that I feel like a lot of people would want to be driven in, the experience is also incredible, and a lot of that does come down to the driving, but I feel like the steering wheel that has been redesigned here feels really good. It is on the wider side in terms of its grip, but it steers very nicely, and the only complaint I would say is that the only area that you're going to find like some plastic is on the actual turn signals and everything, but all the little like finishes on the end are still made out of metal. The screen right here is a really good size, and it's up close, but you do also have an incredible HUD that also utilizes a little bit of like augmented reality to show you where exactly to turn when you're using the built-in navigation. On the side, you also have all the controls for the seat, the heating and cooling settings, as you would expect. But similar to the way the center dash is designed, it just like flows downwards from the top in like a waterfall feel that just makes it look very seamless overall and streamlined without any like hard edges all over, which I feel like a lot of cars kind of have in this design. It just like has like a nice flow, and the lights that highlight some of the accent features just really add to that experience. I think even though this isn't something that we would compare to like a typical sports car, it's a very different like demographic or customer base. In the driver's seat, it just feels like so cozy, and the way you drive around town, it really does like glide on the road. But with this model being the S580 and having the V8 bi-turbo engine with the EQ technology as well, in the dynamic mode, you can really feel the speed and the power when you need it. But if you're just cruising around town, this is the perfect car for it. And especially on long road trips, sitting in the back is just such an incredible experience. Let's just go ahead and show you guys what it's like to be a passenger. So now I'm in the backseat of the S580, and this is probably the best place to be just because of how comfortable it is. And I feel like this car is really made for the passenger's experience. I mean, they don't forget about the driver, but just nothing compares to being in the back here. And with some of the options that are available, including the tablet and the multimedia system, which is pretty standard, you can connect like HDMI to it, which is a feature that you can find in other cars. What really stands out is also the option to add stuff like a table. So if you want to have your laptop, eat a meal, you could do that back here. There's just so much space, and all of your seat controls are here. You can lounge back, fall asleep, you've got the pillow and everything, and yeah, it just really does feel like you're sitting in like a movie theater. And when it comes to the actual like seat controls, there's all the lumbar supports and all the features that you would enjoy. There's also heated and cooled seats, and on top of that, the Burmester system's like main point is all back here. And if you went with the 4D sound, then it actually vibrates the seats to give you that full immersive experience as well. But honestly, when driving around, the music just sounds incredible. The speaker system is great. There's 30 speakers in this car, and usually in like an SUV, for example, like the Range Rover Velar that we have as a company car, that has 17 speakers for reference. So you really do get that like full surround experience here. Some of the features that are kind of unique and well integrated with the MBUX system include the option to have the voice control isolate to just certain seats. So if you got like a kid sitting in one of these seats and just doesn't stop talking, and you don't want them to trigger the voice activation system, then you can go ahead and set it so that only certain seats can trigger the voice commands. And usually I'm that annoying kid. In the middle here, you also have a nice little console with a tablet that is built in. Unfortunately, it is a Samsung Galaxy Tab. I don't know who actually wants that, but there's also the cup holders that you can extend right here, as you can see, and you can tuck them away very nicely. There's also a bit of a storage compartment as well, and you also have an area to store some drinks, maybe your lunch. But yeah, like the overall experience in the back here is really nice. You also have a power outlet and 2 USB Type-C ports to charge your devices. And yeah, in terms of legroom, you could like fully stretch out and go to bed. And if you want to go ahead and control like the shades and everything from back here, you can do so. So right here we have the window control on both sides, and as you hold on the button, it will actually bring up a shade if you want a little bit more privacy. And you do have the option to do that in the back as well. As you can see, that piece is coming up. And as we bring that all down, if you just want like a nice and open experience, there's actually 2 sunroofs in this car, with one that is fully controlled from the back seat. So yeah, with all the customizability, you can really like make the experience the way that you want it. If I were to go ahead and order this car, I'd probably get the tables, because with the amount of space back here, you can literally turn it into like a mobile workstation if you're someone who spends a ton of time in the car. And yeah, someone who's on the phone all day, a lot of times I'll just hop in the passenger seat and just like go on my phone, and sometimes even the laptop when we're on the road, just to get that work done. And there's no better place to do it than in the back of an S580. So now that we've taken a look at the whole interior and tech experience, let's go ahead and hit the road and talk about what it's like to drive in this car and its V8 bi-turbo engine. So before we actually like fire it up and start driving around, I want to give a huge thanks to the sponsors of this video, Bitdefender and their Total Security. Bitdefender is a leader in the cybersecurity industry, delivering the best-in-class threat prevention, detection, and response solutions worldwide. With Bitdefender's Total Security, your family's data, photos, and devices are protected from intruders or hackers. It is able to protect all of your devices without affecting the performance, and Bitdefender also packs a slew of tools that protect your privacy. Bitdefender has also won some notable prizes from independent testing labs and great publications, including being named the Outstanding Security Product by AV Comparatives in 2021, as well as PC Mag's Reader's Choice. So if you guys want to go ahead and check it out for yourself, I have a link on screen and in the description section below that gives you a 120-day free trial compared to the typical 30. So now that we're in the car and ready to go, I have a lot to talk about when it comes to the driving experience of the S580. As I mentioned at the start of this video, the S580 model implicates that it is the V8 engine in the 4-liter variant, and it has up to about 500 horsepower. In the standard modes of like eco and comfort, you don't really get to feel all of that power, but as soon as you get into like the sport mode and you're climbing up the mountain, or even just getting a little bit of acceleration in, you can definitely hear and feel it, but I would say it is at its best when it's a cruiser. So when it comes to the actual driving experience, you have the choice between the Eco mode, the Comfort, the Sport Plus, and also the Individual. And although it is a car that is really nice to cruise around or be driven in, it is also one that has quite a bit of power at almost 500 horsepower and the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo engine with also the EQ technology. So I would say after having a few days, the drive is extremely nice. It is one that is really smooth and almost feels like you're just floating around the road when you're driving it in its comfort mode. And that is kind of its main intention and what I feel like most people who are going to be buying this car are going to be doing. But at the same time, I wanted to see the capabilities of that V8 engine and how it can go 0 to 60 in about 4.4 seconds, which is pretty fast for a car of this size. Being able to switch between the different modes is nice, and I think the biggest difference that I noticed from the Comfort to the Sport was obviously the fact that the Sport mode was a lot faster and the car definitely has that jump, but generally speaking, the cockpit is very, very quiet. It is like very well sealed together. You don't really hear any of the road noise, the wind noise, or anything, and it's just like a very calming experience. And paired with like the steering, I just have great things to say about that, because as you drive it around and as you corner, the car just kind of like guides you along. And it also has like a very thick design to it with the combination of the glossy exterior and the leather in the middle. It's all very well crafted. It handles very well. And yeah, like as you kind of go around these mountains and make these turns, it does glide nicely. And if you go with the option of having the 10-degree rear wheel, then it's going to make a huge difference in terms of the turning radius and the parking abilities, because as I've mentioned already, the length of the car is pretty long considering all the space that you have in the trunk and also the rear seating. Another thing that I also noticed in the Comfort mode is that as you dab onto the brakes, it actually starts to guide into a full stop. So if you're driving quite a few passengers, then it can often make a lot of sense to just have like a very smooth experience. And so if you're a little bit jerky on the brake, as I usually am, then you're able to just like calmly step on it and it will guide you into that full stop, which is really nice. So that is definitely something that I noticed. Another feature is that as you kind of corner around, the sides actually bolster to the side that you lean towards to just keep you locked into the seat. And as I've said in the interior kind of walkthrough, it just feels like you're sitting in your living room and just cruising around because you're so separated from what is outside just because of how quiet and smooth everything is. But now we're gonna like put it into like sport mode, for example, and just give it a little bit of gas. And there you can really just feel the car's capability. It just has the ability to go when you want it to. And you do get to hear it just a little bit, but as I mentioned, if you want to hear the sound of a car, then this is probably not the model to get. It really is like just a powerful cruiser, but yeah, we're just going through these mountains, and even then, in the sport mode, with the sport suspension, it is really, really smooth. The steering does like tighten up just a little bit, but I think having the ability to also use the individual mode and set everything exactly the way that you would like it, my preferred settings would be to have it in the sport engine mode just to give it that push off the line, but have it in the comfort suspension as you're cruising around the city, just to give it a much softer ride to go with it. The other big thing to talk about though is the tech perspective. And I would say that even though this car has all of Mercedes' like latest and greatest technological innovations, including some features that you may not have seen before, in some areas they're very smart and great to have, but in other areas it may almost be a little bit overwhelming for some, and especially for the demographic that they may be selling this car to. I feel like this is very like a 50 and up car. It's one that's nice to go to dinner with and just like very calmly cruise around and have the ultimate comfort, but there is so much technology that it does take some time to figure out how to use it, whether it's navigating the seat menus or to go through the actual map system. And even though it is very smart, sometimes there's just too many things popping up, such as the navigation. There's like the traffic light cam and all that kind of stuff telling you to turn here, whereas a lot of times I'm just looking at the map and seeing where I'm supposed to turn next. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great experience and it's cool to have all of that technology at your disposal, but at some point it does get a little bit much, and the touch capacitive kind of gestures to be able to close a sunroof definitely took me some time to get used to as well, and I had to watch videos like this to be able to figure out how exactly to use it, because if you're just using it for the first time, it may be a little bit hard to figure out and it might make it very annoying to use. So yeah, I think they do have like a decent balance of like a streamlined interface of the interior and keeping it like very elegant looking, as the S-Class is known for, but at the same time they have integrated technologies in places where there's just no buttons in this main screen. I mean, your whole like interface of controlling the climate, the drive mode is all in a touchscreen, and aside from this small little bar right here, it is just like a very seamless design. And the steering wheel and actual like main gauge cluster is very easy as well. There's just like your speed, you can change all the different modes and colors and interfaces that you like, and they're all very different, and the whole theme adapts to that. But I do feel like in the actual like infotainment system, there is a lot of touching that you're going to have to do, and that is something that I've loved and also disliked at the same time about Mercedes. My main car has a touchpad and like the touch thing in the center console, and I have mentioned that in the past I do kind of like to just have like an intuitive button interface that just makes it a lot easier for me to go ahead and change something while I'm driving instead of like missing something with the touchpad. But yeah, as you probably noticed from this, it is just so quiet and smooth. I just like can't say that enough. And when it comes to like the cameras and the parking and everything, it's all there. There's also the smart driving features such as like lane keep assist, collision, all those warnings that you would expect. But I also like how there is the option to have the 10-degree rear axle turning just to reduce that turn radius for like sharp city driving. And I feel like at that price, it is definitely a feature that you should get. Moving on to the speakers though, there is the option to get the Burmester 4D sound. And the 4D aspect is the fact that the seats will actually vibrate along with the music, and the speaker system is incredible. I mean, Burmester, you do have these expectations of like the 3D sound technology that is found in a lot of cars, but the 4D is relatively new, and with 1750 watts in a car of this size, it definitely does live up, and you really do have to experience it in person to see just how good it is. But speakers are literally in every aspect of the car, and just from driving around and listening to music, I absolutely loved every second of it. I know even though the backseat experience is kind of like the star of the show and what I really enjoyed talking about, the driver's experience is just as good, and I almost can't decide whether I want to be driving or just sitting in the backseat a lot of the times and just being on my phone, because it is a really, really nice drive. And even though I haven't tried out the Audi equivalent or the BMW equivalent, from what I've heard, the Mercedes is in a class of its own compared to those other models, and that it even kind of compares to the same demographic that is going to be looking at, like a Bentley, for example, which costs a lot more money, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. It steers nicely, it's fast, it drives well, it is quiet, the interior is great, the fit and finish, the customizability, the attention to detail with the seats and also in the scent options. I mean, they've done a great job with this redesign, and it's almost a car that I kind of want to get for myself, even though it is just not the type that is really made for my demographic. I mean, I like the sports cars, the CLA has been a great experience, but this is just like, I don't know, the ultimate comfort, the ultimate cruiser, and it just makes you want to like go places just because you feel like you haven't even left your house. I mean, that's like the best way I can describe it. And I feel like I've said that a lot of times. But yeah, I like from driving this for 3 or 4 days now, it's incredible. And that's kind of how I have to conclude this video. The tech was the reason why I chose to review it, and I wanted to see what like the latest and greatest was in terms of unique features and stuff that we just don't see in every car. But beyond that, the driving experience and actually being in it, I'm just trying to find ways to really describe it to you guys. But if you have the chance, definitely go ahead and test drive it, because I think like this is definitely something that I would love to have at some point. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I've been trying to get better at these car reviews. I know it's still like a long way to go being brand new to it, but I feel like something like this is a really cool experience because it just has so much tech, and as you move into the future, cars are going to be fully electric, they're going to be self-driving, there's just so many things to cover, and so this is just like another example of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.